Focus. Ideate. Innovate. Enable.
Life teaches you many things, but managing and investing your money is an advanced course where you might need some help, and that's where we come in. Hello and welcome to NSE FinWiz, powered by CNBC TV 18. Today we are at Taloja in Mumbai at the campuses of one of India's leading battery manufacturers, Exide.
For more than 6 decades, Exide Industries has been among India's most reliable battery brands, enjoying unrivaled reputation. It also has a recall of being the leader in the packaged power technology. With its constant emphasis on innovation and an enviable geographic footprint, Exide has become a front-runner in the lead-acid storage battery space for both automotive and industrial applications. NSE FinWiz, with its theme Dream On, engaged with employees of Exide Industries in Navi Mumbai to understand their aspirations and help them power up their financial dreams.
I think in today's world, younger generation is living on credit, and hence in a country like India, where long-term investments are so much important and life expectancy is also growing, financial investments and planning for it is very important.
Most of the young people in our context are all technical and non-financial people. So in our curriculum in our schools and colleges, this particular financial aspect is not touched upon. So most of the people are not savvy about even personal finance.
I am very thankful CNBC selected our plant for this kind of initiative, and definitely it will help my employees as their employee engagement will increase, and secured future, if it is there, then their performance will be better.
Welcome to NSE FinWiz, powered by CNBC TV 18. Today's topic of discussion, insurance and investments, and we have with us two experts to share their insights on the topic, Nikhil Kothari and Hemant Rustagi. And of course, we are at the offices of Exide with the professionals here, eager to understand the different facets of financial planning and wealth creation. So let's dive right into the discussion. Gentlemen, thank you so much for joining us. So the topic of discussion is insurance and investment. So let me come to you, Hemant, first. How does insurance play a central role in wealth creation? Outline a basic primer for our audience here.
All our dreams are associated or linked to the money that I accumulate over a period of time as an investor. Now, what insurance does here is it gives you the risk cover. Now, whether the person is there or not there, the dreams are still going to be there. The requirement of money for the people who are dependent on you are still going to be there. So you say that, okay, I'm going to accumulate something over the next 20 years. So if the person is around, he will do his best to do and get that money. But if the person is not around, unfortunately something happens to him, the requirement for the family, for the house, running house, or children education, all that is there. What insurance does is it ensures that it gives you the risk protection.
All right. And it's somehow counterintuitive, the concept of insurance versus age, because when you're younger, you don't exactly think about insurance. It's only when you start hitting 35, 36 that you start to wonder and then start acting. But again, the earlier that you start, the cost of your insurance also goes down, right, Nikhil? So how does one arrive at a calculation about the insurance cover they need, and what sort of motivation are they looking at there?
If you look at insurance, how much insurance should I have? You can do by two bases. One is called as human life value, and one is called as need-based approach. So when you're young, right? So in that age, what you do is that you do your human life value. At today, I'm 25. I'll be going to work for next 30 odd years or 35 odd years, and if I continue to work, I will be earning X amount of money. From there, I will be saving X amount of money. So how much money I will be over a period of time I will be earning and saving? That is the amount of money I need to have insurance today. And the good part is that when you're young, when you take insurance, the premium which you pay is very, very low. And the good part when you take a life insurance is that premium get fixed. The premium doesn't increase with the age when the age increases. And when you're in early 40s, so when you're just 40s and 45, then you calculate your insurance with the help of something called need-based analysis. then in that case what you have, you already accumulated a good amount of corpus after working for 20 odd years. So what you do is that on that day you calculate that, okay, what are my obligations are there in my life. So assuming that to achieve all this financial obligation you need 5 crores of rupees, and today you've already accumulated a corpus of say 3 crores of rupees, then additional insurance what you need is called as 2 crores. That's called as need based approach, that what is my need, how much I already have, and then what is the gap, I need to take that much insurance.
All right. Now, another important call is separating insurance from investments, because sometimes people come across investment products which also offer you that insurance benefit, and that's where people slightly get confused as to which approach to take.
Objective of buying insurance is risk cover, which means that any risk that associated with my life should be covered. That means I require X amount of cover, like Nikhil just explained how much cover one would require. Now the problem is that when you go for a product which is investment and insurance, insurance becomes incidental. And the problem with these products is that the rate of return that you get, because you may get guaranteed in some of these products, the returns are very, very low. At the end of the day, in the long run, you need to be able to beat inflation, and these are not the product which will help you to beat inflation. So clearly what's happening, you're compromising on two things. Your long-term savings are not giving you the kind of return you deserve. Second, in terms of risk cover, you're not getting the kind of cover you require.
But what about the sweetener they offer of tax saving benefits?
Well, tax benefits is there in whether you go for endowment or you go for a term plan, in any case. But tax benefit has to be incidental. Because like I mentioned earlier, the priority has to be to make sure that in case something were to happen to you, all those family members who are financially dependent on you have enough money to survive. I think the right way would be go for a term plan. Term plan is much cheaper. You can get the kind of cover that you require to make sure that you have enough money for all the objectives that you have in mind.
Nikhil, outline to us the key differences that Hemant has mentioned with regards to term plans and endowment policies. What are the key differences there?
So term plan is like a pure insurance. So what exactly insurance mean? That if something happens to me tomorrow, my family should not suffer financially. Right? So because of that, I need an insurance. The same thing applies to term insurance. If something happens to me, my family shouldn't suffer financially, so they should get a lump sum money. That's called as a pure term insurance. So in term insurance, what happens if, for example, if I'm taking term insurance of 30 years, I keep on paying premium for next 30 years. If anything happens to me next 30 years, my family gets a lump sum money. If nothing happens to me next 30 years, whatever premium I paid is forfeited. Right? Now, why should buy term insurance? Because that's the only insurance where you get a good cover, a large cover with a very, very low cost. Now, when it comes to endowment, so what is endowment? It's a mix of insurance as well as investment. So it's the same like when you have an endowment policy for 30 years, what it says that for next 30 years, I keep on paying the premium. If anything happens to me next 30 years, the family gets lump sum money. If nothing happens to me next 30 years, whatever premium I paid, I'll be refunded that with some interest. Now the difference in both the thing is that if I have to take a term insurance for what, normally if I, like say for example, if anyone has a monthly expense of say 50,000 to 1 lakh rupees a month, then overall his family at least need a 1 to 1.5 crore cover, so that if anything happens to me, the family should get 1.5 crores. Now if I have to buy a term insurance for 1.5 crore, I can get a premium of 10 to 15,000 rupees. If to buy a cover of 1.5 crore in endowment policy, the premium will be roughly around 1 lakh rupees.
On that note, we'll take a short break. We've got a broad starters guide on the topic of insurance and investments. On the other side of this break, we'll be getting into more details on that topic. Stay tuned to CNBC TV 18. Welcome back to NSE FinWiz, powered by CNBC TV 18. We're discussing insurance and investments with the experts and, of course, with the audience here at Exide. So let's dive right back in. Nikhil, we've been talking about insurance as an aspect of asset allocation. Tell us about creating an emergency fund, because that's also an important part of somebody ensuring that even if, say, they lose a job, they still have their daily expenses covered for a certain period of time. Tell us about the importance of creating an emergency fund and also how to go about it. What are some of the parameters they should look into it?
So at any point of time, you should have your 6 months expenses in very, very liquid asset. Okay. So what I mean by 6 months expenses, it doesn't mean your lifestyle expenses, only mean your basic expenses. So it covers your household expenses, your basic children's schooling expenses, your parents' dependent expenses, your insurance premium, and your EMIs. All these expenses combined together will give you monthly expenses multiplied by 6 times. So you have your 6 months expenses in very, very liquid asset. And liquid asset, I mean that you can withdraw that money whenever you need, and you don't have to break your long-term assets.
All right. And Hemant, it's always considered a wise strategy to pair an SIP in mutual funds. And while you do that, you also have a term insurance plan. Explain to the audience here why that strategy makes sense and why you should go in for SIPs in mutual funds, because it protects to a certain extent your investments, because it amortizes your risks over a longer period of time, and you have a term insurance plan for the benefit of insuring your investments.
When you buy an insurance, what it does for you is it ensures that if something were to happen, all those money which are required at different stages of your life will still come into the family. So I think having protected yourself and the family from that, then you need to accumulate investment over a period of time. Now, not all of us will have a lump sum money to start investing. What SIP does basically here is it brings in discipline into our investment process. Half the job is done when you keep aside some money for investment. Why do we don't start investment? There are times when people don't even start investing because they think that we require a lump sum money to start investing. The fact is today, you can start investing even with 1,000 rupees. The moment you enroll for SIP, that too, like we earlier mentioned about goal-based investment approach, you are keeping aside some money for your investment goals. The problem is that we invest at the end after taking care of expenses. So we invest only whatever is left. The right strategy is to first invest and then make sure that you have enough money to take care of your expenses.
What are some of the do's and don'ts of getting an insurance cover when somebody is looking to get an individual cover for themselves? What are some of the go and no-go areas which you would suggest to them in terms of choosing the right insurance product?
First thing, always consider insurance as an insurance and not as an investment. Okay, so first of all, you should only know that whether you need insurance or don't need insurance. So say for example, if you are a lone bird and there's no one dependent on you, then actually you don't need insurance, right? You only need insurance if someone's dependent on you. So first see that who is dependent on you, and if they are dependent on you, if they have to, what all financial obligations you have, and based on all your financial obligation, what is the cover they will need, and based on that you go and buy an insurance. Second thing, never take an insurance in your child's name or your mother's name. You need insurance in your name, because if something happens to you tomorrow, who will take care of your child, who will take care of your mother? Always make sure that whatever information you're giving is always correct to the best of your knowledge. And if you're giving all the information correctly, no insurance company will reject your claim.
All right. It's time for the audience now to list out their goals, which the financial experts will try to address. So I'll be calling out your names. You can get up. First name I'll be calling is Yogesh Gangodkar.
My goal is in next 10 years, I have to grab at least 15 lakhs rupees for world tour. And at the end of my retirement, I must have at least 2 crores in my hand for as a next survival option. So what do you suggest for me? I am at the age of 40.
Whenever you're making any investment decision, your time horizon is very, very important. Because you need to decide where to invest that money. Many a time we make a mistake of straight away going to investment option rather than deciding which asset class to go in. So for 10 to 20 years, this time horizon, invest in mutual funds through SIP. 10 and 20 year, both time horizon, you can go into equity fund. Here you should invest through SIP into mutual funds. Go for well-diversified fund. It's very, very important. Don't go for very aggressive fund. Go for multi-cap diversified funds. Okay, and go for the fund which have been performing consistently.
The next person I'll be calling out is Jitendra Kakade.
My question was that I want to secure the future of my child in terms of education and the better future for his. Can you help me the best investment plan?
All right, let me add more details to that. So he wants to give the best education and future to his child. Now, the amount he wants to accumulate is 10 lakhs and he can on a monthly basis save about 2,500. And his time horizon is 10 to 12 years. What would you suggest to the gentleman?
Since your time horizon is 10 to 12 years, as Hemant rightly said, that you should go in the pure equity fund. Right? Now, pure equity fund, it will be volatile in the short term. Right? So in the short term, you may say that your portfolio value is going up and down, going up and down. But if once you hold for more than 5-7 years, you'll see stability in your portfolio. And over 10 years, you will easily be able to achieve what your desired value it is. But before that, have your term insurance in place, because the SIP will only continue if you are there for next 10 years.
On that note, we'll take another short break. When we return, the floor will be open to the professionals here at Exide to ask any questions they have on the topic of insurance and investments with our experts joining us. Stay tuned to CNBC TV 18. Welcome back. You're watching NSE FinWiz powered by CNBC TV 18. Now the floor is open to all the professionals here at Exide to ask the questions to our experts. So let's get a show of hands and let's see who wants to ask a question.
I would like to know whether is there any criteria or a benchmark to know a good mutual fund?
You need to check your fund whether it's been able to beat the benchmark as well as the peer group. If it's able to beat the benchmark and peer group, and from performance criteria is doing that job. That's one angle. Second thing, look at how consistent the fund is. So consistent can be measured in terms of, if you look at calendar year performance. Say if you have taken a fund which has got a 10-year performance. On last 10 calendar year, how many times it has outperformed the category as well as the benchmark? Now, out of 10 times, if the fund has outperformed 8 times, then the fund has really done a good job. Third thing, look at how risk the fund is. So you can use the ratio, something called a Sharpe ratio, something called standard deviation, which will tell you how risk the fund is. Higher the standard deviation, more riskier; lower the standard deviation, less riskier. Normally what happens is that people say, okay, this is a large cap fund and you're comparing a mid cap fund. Now you cannot compare large cap to a mid cap. So when you're comparing, do all large cap together, all mid cap together, all small cap together. And based on your risk appetite, your time horizon, select which category fund you want to invest in, and then based on these parameters which we discussed, you can select a fund.
All right, let's have another question.
I would like to have your advice on investment in NPS.
Okay,
for people who are, particularly for people who are in the highest bracket, and even for the lower bracket, the saving option.
In NPS, you get additional tax benefit of 50,000 over and above what you get of 1.5 lakh. So at the time of investment, definitely there is an edge if you invest in NPS. But you know, it's a retirement product. You're building a corpus for retirement. There are other aspects to be looked at. First thing here is there are 3 options in NPS. One is equity, second is government bonds, and third is corporate bonds. The maximum that you can invest in equity is 50%. So for me, the problem starts there. Someone who has time horizon of 15-20 years, or at least say 10 to 15 years old too, 50% may not be sufficient for you to build that kind of corpus, because if we have provident fund in some places and we have some other investment in bonds and fixed deposits. So again, putting 50% into government securities and debt does not really serve the purpose. Second important thing to be looked at is what happens at the time of maturity when you take your money out. We have talked about other options. For example, we're investing in, let's say, retirement fund or mutual fund or some other option of equity funds. There, after 1 year, any capital gain is tax-free. You have the flexibility of opting for something called systematic withdrawal plan, wherein you can accumulate and tell the fund that every month give me so much money. You can decide how much pension you want.
All right, the next person I'll be calling is Ajay Gulhane.
We are covered by a Mediclaim policy by the company, and our family members are also covered. Do we need additional medical policy for our future?
But once you leave your company and you quit your company and you say, for example, you join somewhere else where that company may not provide you insurance. So in that case, you won't have any insurance in that place. And so that's why you need to have your own health insurance policy. Second thing is that you may retire, and once you retire, your company may not cover you after that. So then you have no insurance with you. So that's why you need to have your own health insurance. And now, why health insurance is good to take it during your employment itself? Now, the reason is that, say for example, after 40-45, if you are diagnosed with any critical disease, right, like say bypass surgery, cancer, heart attack, it can be anything, right? And in that point of time, right, if you go and approach any insurance company to apply for a new health insurance cover, most of the companies reject your claim, reject your proposal, because they will not like to cover someone who has already have any critical disease. So it's very difficult to get a policy once you have any critical disease. So that's why I always say that till 30, 35, 40, you're fine, you're covered with the company, you can continue with that. After 40, take your own health insurance policy.
All right, on that note, we'll wrap up this episode of NSE FinWiz, powered by CNBC TV 18. The topic of discussion has been insurance and investments. I'd like to thank our guests for sharing their insights on the topic, and of course the professionals here at Exide for a very engaging Q&A. And thank you to our viewers for tuning in. And next episode, another topic of discussion on financial planning and wealth creation. Meanwhile, keep staying tuned to CNBC TV 18.
I would like to thank CNBC TV 18 and NSE for giving me such an opportunity to interact with such an expert to clear our doubts. I was having so many doubts because I just started earning.
I think the session was splendid. The way they explain, the way they elaborate all those things, mutual fund investment, SIP, their market risk, life insurance plans was fantastic, I would say.
As a common man, I was a bit confused regarding such type of investments, but today I have cleared a lot of things.
Both the experts were well versed about the terms, and they have covered both the terms of investment and insurance and the difference between them. Also, at this age as a retail investor, I came to know much about the mutual funds investment to make my dreams to happen true at later age of my life, and after retirement also as a proper survival plan.